Um, Start by talking about, tell us why you guys moved to Wilton Manors to begin with.
Why we moved to Wilton Manors?
Yes, sir.
Well, we had the business here first. It came in '59, and we lived in the northwestern part here, about a mile or so down the road from here. And we just wanted to be a little closer to our business, and also we wanted to be part of the community where we lived before. We're in Fort Lauderdale. So that was one of the main reasons, being closer and, of course, being part of the community.
Okay. When you opened the business here, what was the catalyst? What caused you to open the business in Wilton Manors?
Pretty much the zoning of funeral homes. My understanding was that in Fort Lauderdale they were a little stricter because they had to do 2 or 3 funeral homes, where up here they were still opened, and that's the reason we came up north. And I was advised to come north and not go out west, which I followed that advice.
Okay. Where are you guys originally from?
Pennsylvania.
Okay. And the reason, what brought you to Florida to begin with?
You want the whole story?
Absolutely.
Okay. My father always said he'd like to come to Florida. We had a little grocery business up in Pennsylvania in this huge city, about 800 people. And he said he's going to sell the business and come down here and buy a motel. And then he was going to let the kids run or do the work around the motel, and he was going to be the fellow in the office taking care of the books. Well, he never made it. He passed away before he ever could come to Florida. So before we got married, I told her, I said, I have to come to Florida just to see what it's like, because my dad always wanted to come and I knew nothing about it. And she said, well, I had to promise her that if I went down there and thought I liked it down there, that I promised her she'd only marry me if I would only stay 1 year and bring her back home. So I come down to visit, and I was offered a job in Fort Lauderdale at a funeral home. And so when we went back, I said, I have this job offered me. And of course, I just got engaged like about a month or so before, and I didn't dare stay down here without. And so anyway, we came down after we were married in August, and I took the job in September, and she followed me down. And a year later, we went up to visit, and I sort of convinced her it was nice not having to shovel snow, put chains on the automobiles, and wear heavy coats, and boots. So then we stayed on.
Okay. I wanted to do this you and you one at a time. What are some of the aspects of Wilton Manors you love the most?
It's a small community. Everybody is very friendly. It was a great place to raise kids. They had a great recreation program. It was convenient. They could all ride their bikes to Hagen Park, and it just was a great place.
Kind of mirror, do you have anything to add with that?
Well, of course, I was advised to go north, and Wilton Manors wasn't that far from out of the city limits of Fort Lauderdale. And being a small town, I come from, like I said, the huge city of about 800. She came from a bigger city, about 3,000. So this would be more or less in our category, and we wouldn't be swallowed up by thousands and thousands of people. So we came up here, and I politics weren't as great as they were in the bigger cities, and I was a little familiar with that. My father was in politics one time. So that was pretty much why we came here. I wanted to stay in southern Florida. I didn't want to go further north on account of the weather.
Okay. The changes over the years in Wilton Manors, what are your opinions of the changes that have happened in Wilton Manors?
Oh, well, everybody up north, well, not most everybody, wants to come south to Florida, and when they get here they decided, like we did, it was a place to stay and raise kids. But Wilton Manors, of course, is getting bigger, but we have one thing going for us: we don't have a lot of more land, and you can only get so many people on this size of of the area. But it's changing, and yet this is something, I guess, there's no place in the southern part of Florida that is not changing. Of course, that's true of most cities down here. But I have no qualms about it, except it's getting a little tight, once we get all these condominiums filled with people, I'm not sure we'll be able to drive on the streets.
Back when you were raising your kids, what kind of community was it?
Oh, it was great. I mean, the kids could go off and roam the canals and ride their bikes anywhere they wanted, and somebody knew where they were all the time. it, all the police were just great. I mean, they were friendly, and you knew them all, and you knew everybody.
Okay.
It was a great place to grow up in.
So the community back then was closer knit,
Oh yeah,
and
we used to have parades, and yeah, just it was fun. It was a little town. Everybody knew you. The kids used to come home and say, "How did you know I was there?" We knew.
so back then you knew everybody in the town back
Yeah,
then. Okay.
pretty much. It was pretty close knit.
How has the business developed over these years?
By that you mean?
As the city grows, has the business grown with it?
Oh, yes, that's definite. Of course, there's plenty of people down here, and a lot of them are older folks, of course, and it just, you just got to be known, you got to get known, and try to give people an honest business. In other words, what they want, you give them what they want at an honest price, and giving them all the service that you try to give them. But it's just like most any place that you go to and open a business. It takes time for people to know you and know what you like and what you do and what you don't do, and eventually they'll call you, and some won't call you, but that's the way our line of work is anyway.
Have you ever been involved in the politics of Wilton Manors?
No, I was approached once a long time ago to run for mayor, but I decided I don't care how good of a mayor you are, there's certain people just never like you, And I figured, and of course, there's certain people I'm sure don't like me anyway, but I didn't want to go out and publicize it. So I stayed away from that. I served on the, what was that?
The civil service board
Service
for
where
the police.
we hired policemen and gave them tests and that sort of thing. I did that for about 10 years, and I enjoyed that, but that's as close to politics as I got, but you didn't have to run for that. They sort of appointed you.
Tell us a little bit more about that committee. What all did it do?
The police civil service, we would, when they had an openings for policemen, of course, they would get people that would sign up, they were interested in coming. So, but we sat down and questioned them. We had a lot of questions that we would ask them. There was about 5 of us, I guess, or so, and we would all ask them different questions, and then they would have to take a test, written test. And then after, if they passed those 2 things, then we took them over to Janata Pool. There used to be a pool in the area, and let them swim. They had to pass a certain swimming course. And, you met the fellows, and some of them said, "Oh yes, I remember you," and that's been a long time ago. And I look at them and I recall them, but I didn't remember them like I should, of course. And they said, "You gave me the test." Of course, a lot of the fellows that took the test never came here. They either didn't pass or they decided that the Wilton Manors wasn't the place they wanted to come to. But it was enjoyable. I enjoyed it.
When you first moved into the area compared to now, what were the businesses like? I mean, how rapid it was?
They were small town businesses that.
He wants to wait for that.
Oh. Sorry. about
Okay,
that.
I'm sorry, go right ahead.
They were real small town businesses, like the 5 and 10.
Pierce's.
Pierce's 5 and 10, and they were just. And there's still some of them still around.
Yeah, Ma and Pa type operations, you know.
Yeah.
And we used to have an A&W root beer stand on the corner up there. That was a big drawing card for a lot of people, up at 5 Points, that is. And it's just,
Yeah, it's changed a lot.
it's changed because bigger companies come in, and buy out the smaller person, or sometimes people want to retire and they either close shop or sell their business to others.
What was the grocery store? Piggly Wiggly?
Yeah, they had a Piggly Wiggly in town too.
And the Manor Market?
Yeah.
And that was just like an open air
Yeah, it
store.
was on Wilton Drive, they used to have a little, mostly meats, weren't they?
Yeah, they had produce and meat and things, and it was a well-known.
When we lived downtown on Los Olas, before we come up and bought a house up northern part of the town, we used to come up and shop.
They told me to go to Manor Market, and I said, way out there?
Yeah, that's only a couple of miles at the most, but that was a long way out, you know. And Wilton Drive was 2 lanes, and Dixie Highway was 2 lanes going north. And it was just nothing like it is today. And Andrews Avenue was 2 lanes. It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
But all that was, there was no nursing home on Andrews Avenue at all. Just nothing but a big field in there.
Oh, Manor Pines wasn't there either.
That's what I'm saying,
Oh.
the nursing home. Oh, I'm sorry, that's on
You said
26th.
Andrews.
Well, that's on 26th Street, yeah.
Oh.
Were you guys around when the first bridge was built? Which is now the James Dean Bridge, the 26th Street Bridge?
Oh, I think that was there, wasn't it? When we
Well, I
came
think
over?
they had one there, but then they built this one. They had a bridge there.
Yeah, there was a bridge there before we
Yeah.
came up, yeah.
It's just like the one going to Kmart. Was just 2 lanes, but then when they put the new bridge in, so.
The first house you had in Wilton Manors, describe the neighborhood. Was this house here?
This is it, yeah.
Describe the
This is it.
neighborhood when you first moved in.
Everybody, most of the people seemed to have kids at that time, children that were our children's age.
But everybody worked.
Yeah, well, it's true too. I don't know if anybody that was retired back then that lived on the island. We live on the Jeannot Isle, and we knew everybody, and everybody knew your kids, and you knew their kids, and
We could probably still go right around the island and tell you who lived there
Yeah.
when we moved
the
here.
houses. Of course, that was
They don't live here now.
They don't live here anymore. But it was interesting, though. It's just like a small little town in itself here in this area. But and I think there was 2 or 3 lots empty when we came on the island. We thought about buying a lot and building, but then when this house came up for sale, we decided that it's already made, and Jens Rask built it, and he was a #1 builder at the time, so we feel pretty fortunate that we got it.
Okay, what's his name?
Jens Rask. He lived 2 doors down the street.
Did you know him well?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about the type of person he was, or is.
Very,
Jens.
very honest, very honest. He was a
Great
good
builder.
builder. Everything was right to the T. And
He was so honest that when he added onto our back porch, and he put these big beams across to put the roof on, my husband goes out one night and puts little nicks in them all and ran some wiring to wire the speakers out there, and he come in the next morning and had a fit. If I'd have wanted inferior beams, I would have bought them.
but he was quite
But he was precise.
real nice fella. Did
And
a
you
lot
can
of-
tell by the quality of the houses he's built around here.
Quite a few of these houses he built.
Good neighbor.
Yeah.
Very nice man. His family was very nice.
Now, compared to then and now, is the neighborhood still friendly?
Oh yeah,
Very
yeah,
good
very,
neighbors.
Very, yeah, we were
We
very
have
happy.
block parties. It's really nice. It is. And if you needed something, somebody would be here to help you. It is a nice neighborhood, and it has changed completely. I mean, we've got neighbors that, they're really nice, very nice neighbors. We have a minister next door from the Covenant Presbyterian Church, which is on 26th Street.
So I got to walk on a straight and narrow.
Even though you never got into politics, obviously living in Arizona, you have to be involved in it a little bit. How has the politics of Wilton Manors changed between when you first got here to now?
I can't think.
Yeah.
Most of the people that run for office,
Yeah.
because they live here, and it's not like saying, well, who's this guy or who's that guy? You just
Now, there's a few now that we don't know, but we still know the majority that are
Majority,
running
yeah.
for office. So, yeah.
Do you have any stories about when your children were growing up? Any kind of stories that would
Yeah. My kids used to go, they had a boat and they would, little boat. They rowed for a long time before they were allowed to have a motor. And they would all be in the canals and everything, and everybody would always come in here. Well, they always called me top sergeant. I was Sarge for everything, including the chief of police of Wilton Manors called me Sarge.
But
'Cause
he wasn't chief at the time.
he ran around with my son and became chief of police. And when he retired, he says, "Oh, I see Sarge is here." And I'm like, I will never live that down. But I ruled the roost with the kids. They towed the line when they came here, you know. And they were good kids.
Now, I've heard from quite a few people that grew up here as kids that the canals played a big part in their life back
Right.
then.
Yeah.
And in what way?
They traveled all over. I didn't know this for a long time, that they would go all over Fort Lauderdale. I thought they were out here around Wilton Manors, but they tell me that they did. Once they got out of under the bridges here, you know, they could get down into Fort Lauderdale and do.
Well,
And
they,
it was,
they graduated from the oars to the little 9 horsepower
Motor.
motor that we bought, because it wasn't very large. And we thought they would be just around here. And it was years later we found out somebody slipped and started talking. And we, of course, we listened, and they were down off of Los Olas and all these places.
in the big canals down there.
Yeah.
They'd been in them all.
But they seemed like.
But it was a different world then.
And they didn't seem to get in any trouble. At least we hadn't heard from anybody that said that they'd done
They
anything
were
wrong.
good kids.
But she kept them pretty much on the
The
straight
kids
and
were
narrow.
all good. You know, there were a few that got out of hand, but you settled them. They all come back, so they must have thought something was all right.
Okay, is there anything about the city that we haven't covered that we would like to add?
It's still a nice place to live.
It's growing, of course, and there's a lot of people that you don't know, and there's people that come and go, and overall, I like it because of its smallness, you know. And we have a real good police department, and we've had a lot of,
We can still walk in City Hall and know
Yeah.
who's there. And
you know, it makes a nice,
oh, one Christmas Eve, I was having a big party. No, it was New Year's Eve. And as I let the first guests in, there was this lovely tag hanging on my front door that they were going to shut my water off because I hadn't paid my water bill. And I could not believe that they'd hang that on there on New Year's Eve. So now I still give them a bad time. Don't you dare shut my water off.
I'm assuming you resolved the issue.
but when we would have block parties, and the police, what days would they be? Police would come, remember?
Oh, it was the lights out in August when everybody in the community has different parties. Well, we have them. All the police are here, and it's really kind of neat, you know, that they all come. They bring the fire truck, and it's fun. The kids really enjoy it. I bring my grandkids in from, they don't live here right now, you know. We have 2 of our kids live in Wilton Manors. And the rest of them, I said, bring your kids because we're having a party this week. And the kids love it, so.
Now, are those the 4th of July parties?
No.
No, it's in August, the first Tuesday, I think, in August. It's all over the nation. It's your fight crime, that everybody's put their lights on, have a party outside, and get to know your neighbor.
Everybody brings potluck, you know, and
Well,
the police come by, they're the only ones that don't bring any potluck, but they leave with pots. We give them a bad time. I mean, you know them, so you can
Yeah,
do that.
right.
But they're real nice, and the kids, they'll show them the cars, and once in a while
They
might
bring the
put
dogs.
the lights on or something. The kids, oh boy, this is great. And
They plant dope on somebody, and then they set the dog loose, and he goes and gets it.
oh, it's educational
Yeah,
too.
it is.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Of course, a lot of the grown-ups, that's something for them too to see.
Then we usually have a party here. Well, we've been trying to have them so when new people move in, we get to meet them, you know. We didn't have one Christmas, I can't figure out. They called me and said that could we have one? And I said, yeah, but didn't get any more calls, so everybody was busy, I guess. And the hurricane kind of
Took care of things.
took care of a lot of things.
Now, was that the worst hurricane that ever hit here?
Probably, yeah, I would say so. Andrew, we've been through Cleo, Andrew, we've been through a lot of them.
Yeah.
But we used to stay at the funeral home. We always went to the funeral home because that was the business, and he ran ambulance service, and we had to be there. So we figured it was the safest place. But this one, we got to sit here and look out the front window and watch it.
So we parked our van in front, and every once in a while it would start going up and down in the back. You know, I'm watching. I said, when those back wheels leave the ground, we better go in the bathroom. But it never did. Come close, but never did.
Yeah, it was good. We were glad we didn't have any more damage than we
Yeah.
did, because a lot of people did have a lot of damage. Our neighbors have their roof, it's all tarped, and a lot of people had damage here, but we were very, very fortunate.
Outside of some trees and
Gutters
That's
and,
about it, you know. But we can always replace those. Oh, I tell you, it's an experience. These hurricanes.
Okay, I think that'll be it. I thank you very
Okay.
much.
it should be interesting.
We're not done.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, you're gonna get talked about him.
Yeah,
Oh, no.
Now, I'm not sure what you're going to ask me about, Jim.
just tell me about him.
Well, I don't know a lot about him except that he had I think a real estate office over right where the restaurant is over there, where the old A&P store used to be.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Old Florida.
Right in that area, he had that. And well-known, well-liked gentleman, very active in, I think it was the Baptist church here in town, if I'm not mistaken. And, gee, I don't know too much more than that. And then I know they dedicated the bridge on 26th Street. And my son was with him. We got a picture of him and Jimmy Dean. But that's about all. I don't know. I didn't know him personally as much, just know of him, you know.
Okay.
We knew Jerry and Diane Thompson very well.
Yeah.
We used to had a lot of parties with them.
Tell him, what was that one that we would go to with him?
We always went to the junior welfare Christmas. Well, it was the 1st of December that they always had it. And I said Diane was a big member of the junior welfare. And she'd invite us all, and we'd all have a party at her house and then go to the ball. And it was, everybody in town went to the ball. It was fun.
I think Jerry was in swimming pool construction at
Yeah.
one time. I believe that's what he did. And,
Diane was very active in the city, and she was the one that instigated the quilt.
Yeah.
That they asked everyone to make a block, and then I think she put it together. And when she died, Jerry called me and said, I don't know what to do with the quilt. And he gave it to me. And I said, I don't know what to do with the quilt. Well, we gave it to the city, and the city had it at City Hall. I have no idea where it is now, but it was really interesting because people had made blocks of, like, with their family things or something they did, and they put it all on this whole big quilt, and it was a big wall hanging. It was nice. It was a cute idea to do.
When I first came into town, we had a JC's, that's Junior Chamber of Commerce, and most all the business people were in there. And it was amazing. That's where I met Jerry and all the people in town that were in
Yeah.
business. And Jerry used to be a bartender, so he always had a few good stories to tell us, you know. Wonderful guy, just the nicest
Yeah.
person that you ever want to meet. And friendly, and he had a handshake, you know. Real politician, Jerry was. And
Yes.
I remember when he instigated the Sawgrass
Right.
Expressway. A lot of people saying this, he's got rocks in his head way out there, you know. But Jerry stuck with it, and it got done. And it wasn't very long after that when it started being used an awful lot. Somebody said, boy, that Jerry is smart. It's amazing, you know.
He knew
He knew.
we were all going west.
He could foresee something that some of us couldn't, you know. But
Yeah.
I know, I even thought, I said, that's way out there, but maybe he knows something, and
Right.
it worked out for him. He's a great guy, Jerry was, and so was Diane.
Right. Yeah.
I'll find out. I think they have the historical society. I think has the quilt. So I'll find out for that.
I have some stuff on the Chamber of Commerce, and I have stuff on pictures of Jerry and Diane leading the parade. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you, folks.
Mm-hmm.